So welcome to the Mally Davies Appreciation Society, or should I say the Photography Pubcast. Thanks for coming back to us, guys. It's good to see you. We obviously started our new channel last week, and I think a lot of you found us. We've got a lot of subscribers to the channel, so that's really good. Appreciate you guys coming over. A lot of good comments. So now that's gone really well. So yeah, we're here for another week of blokes banter down the pub. So how are we doing, guys?
Champion.
Good week?
Very well, yeah, not done much.
Do you want to tell us, Mally, about your poorly foot? Because I know you're dying, so you're not to entertain the nation with your big old balloon ankle.
Do you know what? I'm not at all. Do you know? No, go on, quickly. Wednesday, so Sunday, Boris said, you can all feck off out for Wednesday. Goes to my car, nips at chemist, get my wife some tablets and, you know, a bit of shopping. And fell between two cars and sprained my ankle. I was supposed to be going out with camera.
Oh, that was just your luck, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's like a balloon. But I've got to say, you know, Twitter, it can be a lovely place at times. But no, seriously.
Can it?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised by the advice and it's healing really well because loads of people are saying you need to do this, you need to stand a tomato on the end of your toe. And no, seriously, there's been some wonderful.
Well, I either use frozen peas or frozen sweet corn. Is that sort of advice you're getting? Or even mixed veg?
The elevation above the hip, you know, and yeah, just.
You did use rather upmarket frozen peas on it. That must have helped.
I noticed that.
Do you know, mate? There's a story behind that as well because we got our shopping delivered, and when they give us 2 bags of shopping, that was wrong, and one of the bags had some what they call those Chicago town pizzas, which we never get, and 3 bags of Bird's Eye frozen stuff. I thought it's like I was meant for to sprain my ankle just for use these peas.
And Mally, tell us what arrived in the post yesterday, just after you'd sprained your ankle.
What was that? All right.
Your walking boots.
Oh. So I've wanted a decent pair for ages, and I wanted a pair of Merrells because I think David has Merrells.
Yeah, only Merrells.
Comfy. I thought, oh yeah, I'll get these on. I'll go up Felton Knot on Wednesday. That's what I'm doing. And yeah, boots came, ankle twisted.
Oh, right. So you need a bigger size basically now to allow your swollen ankle fit in.
Well, do you know, it does look like an elephant's cock. I mean, but it's big. It's big. It's bulbous. Fast, not, but it's bulbous.
Has it gone down at all?
That's a Frank Zappa joke. No one will get that. Fast and bulbous. But
yeah.
No, it's not. It's not gone down, but I've got it up here. It feels better when it's up.
And you've been ill as well, Mally.
Well, you know, some kind of thing.
There's a bug going around, isn't there, at the moment?
Apparently so, yeah. Apparently so.
I think you get paranoid, though. You know, I know when I was just before lockdown, I think I mentioned this before, that I got a cold.
Thanks, Dan.
But people around me, I mean, I knew that I kind of had a cold. I had all the symptoms that I've had done for the last 50 years. I know them well. But everyone around me was just getting so paranoid. So I took time off of work just to protect the other guys. That I could have worked through it. I didn't have any problems at all. But I think what we're going through at the moment, the slightest cough, the slightest temperature, everyone's getting really paranoid.
Yeah, well, I don't profess to suffering from things that can I say things don't normally bother me, but this week I think I've just had a bit of a do with the old nugget.
To be fair though, Darren, that's the slogan, isn't it? Stay at home, protect the carpenters, save legs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's almost a joke in there.
No, but I think as well, what you just said, Mally, I think because, you know, people are in this, you know, people, myself as well, but we're in this kind of situation that, you know, we're not perhaps on top of our game at the moment. You know, perhaps mentally, because people want to get out and do the things that they can't do.
Yeah.
And so, like, the slightest little thing, it probably kind of blows up and escalates more than what it actually should do.
Well, you know how excited I get, and I have to admit, I didn't agree with a lot of things that were said on Sunday, to the point of we're thinking about all the hard work we've done protecting ourselves and our families. And I do understand that we can do this, we can go out, we can do that. And I got myself proper excited. I did. I thought I'd made plans, I bought these boots and everything. And then I go and sprained my ankle. And then on that night, I felt shocking. It was as if I'd been shot. I felt, it really hit me where I thought, I can't do what I'd planned. And it's been so long. And we all, no matter what anyone says, we all love vlogging, don't we? We all love going out, taking pictures, talking to a camera.
Someone was telling you something on Mally, obviously. You weren't right, were you, on Wednesday?
No.
It just makes, when you do return, albeit hopefully next week, it'll be even better, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. But like Darren said, it affects you in different ways, I think. And I think the temperature I had was from the shock, because I went down like a bag of shit. Honestly, if you'd have seen it, it was a comedy moment.
But it's always funny when someone falls over. I was working in Scotland, and it was this kind of empty warehouse, and there was just me, and there was this plasterer, and all this plasterer that he had a scaffold board on top of 2 milk crates, so he's only about 12 inches off the floor. And I'm working away, and I had my back to him. And I just heard this almighty kind of crash. And there he was on the floor, but he was like, oh. I couldn't move for laughing. And I'm trying to hold it together long enough to say, are you okay? But all that kind of come out was, oh. And then I had to kind of recompose you. And I hid behind this column, holding my sides.
The thing is, for you guys, it's like you fall over, it's like a feather hitting the floor. Someone like me, and may I say now Mally, probably now we'll put on that a little bit of history. I remember walking home from the co-op about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was really cold and icy, and there was this one particular bit that you just knew was going to be like an ice rink, and I walked over it, and I literally stopped on it and went, I'm going to have to be really, really careful with my next step. And before I even took the step, I'm on the floor, and it's like I swear, like, you know, I fall over, and they have an earthquake on the other side of the planet. It's never a good thing, but I tell you, it really hurts when, like, you guys fall over. I'm liable to, like, lose a hip.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah. The thing is, though, the impact of it depends on the company you're in. I was out and about a couple of weeks ago walking the dog with Mrs. G, and we walk on these old sand dunes that are full of rabbit holes. I put my foot in a rabbit hole and fell over. And Jan's immediately, oh, are you all right? Are you all right? I was going, yeah, I meant to. Yeah. And you try and make out that, well, I was always, I'm just practicing rolling.
Yeah.
Ninja roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, have you seen, I don't know if you guys obviously watched kind of Gavin Hardcastle, but he has that clip at the end where he's falling over on the ice.
Yeah.
And I did exactly that when we was in Sweden, and I had my camera. So I'm falling, but I'm trying to protect the camera. So I'm trying to save the camera rather than myself. And even to this day, we went to Sweden like 10 years ago. And even to this day, when Helen thinks about me, just my feet kind of going 10 to the dozen on the ice and falling over, she's in hysterics. So it is quite funny when you watch others fall over.
I understand that the lovely Mrs. Davies just fell about laughing, didn't offer to help at all.
She did. She just, cried laughing.
I would have done, mate. I would have.
and I was all right. I thought I was all right. And I took, you take your trainer off. You go, and it, Anyway, so what have you been up to, Jamie?
I was going to say, so So I presume then, on the basis that your foot's hurting, you're not drinking tonight, mate. No.
No, I'm not.
Are you on a cup of tea tonight?
I'm not. I'm on this stuff, golden black. It's called
Oh, that's good. That is that's,
Medicinal.
that's good for bad ankles.
with paracetamol.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, knock you out. Nice. What's anybody else drinking then? What are we on tonight? The normal or anything new?
Yeah, just the normal. Back on the Fosters.
Corona.
Oh.
Oh,
Topical.
I drank my way through my case of moose poo, so I'm back on the finger.
well, it did you well in the early stages, Dave. So,
James, coffee, tea.
Coffee. Question again this week. Biscuit. Anyone guess the biscuit?
I'm going to go for the
What are you
custard
going for?
cream.
I was going to go for that.
Have you seen it already? Ain't you?
No,
You've
no, I
seen
didn't
it
see it.
already. Custard cream.
There it is.
10
My
points.
God.
10 points to the bird, man. Well done.
You get those variety packs from Tesco's, the cheap ones, and they got the Nice and the Bourbons and the custard creams in them. Our cupboard's full of
Yeah,
them.
no, this individual packet, but they're cheap because about 80% are all broken.
Yeah, I'll tell you, here's a question then for all of us. Would any of you guys wish that we had social media when we was growing up?
No.
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 No, I
100% no.
think the lack of it has made us what we are, really.
Why do you think I
True,
love trees?
true life.
Mhm.
Would we
Yeah,
have really gone out? I mean, I used to love my bikes from age of about 6. Would we have really gone out and enjoy ourselves, enjoy
No.
the true countryside? Will we have developed this passion for the countryside?
More importantly than that, could you imagine getting up to some of the stuff that you got up to on a night out and having someone with literally a camera in your face,
I know.
ready to share that with everybody in your friendship circle? No, thank you
Off
very
me
much.
tits,
That's it.
I'm
I think
acid.
you know,
Yeah, I wouldn't have shoplifted any Action Man uniforms.
What was your first bike, James?
Good God, what was it? They were a chopper. They were a
Mm.
chopper.
Yeah, I had a chopper.
yeah, I had a chopper,
1977 chopper.
the old
Yeah.
nut cruncher.
Brilliant. And then he had a grifter. Remember a grifter?
I had a silver
I
grifter.
said grifter. Massive handlebars. I used to put literally 2 mirrors on each side. Yeah, like a mod.
Yeah.
You're the
Well,
Grange
it's on.
Hill generation.
My friend,
Yeah, Grange Hill.
I had a tomahawk.
Tomahawk!
I had a chopper.
I had a chipper. You remember?
Chipper, the baby
Yeah.
chopper.
Chipper? Yeah.
Little babby ones.
I had a tomahawk
Yeah.
on my birthday. It was a gold tomahawk, and my brother on my birthday, before I'd even got to go on it, crashed it into a lamppost.
Oh, what a prick.
Unbelievable.
Have you
And
talked
then
to him
I-
ever since?
Yeah.
Hey,
Then I had-
Garrett, how
then I had a
good were they
chopper.
for doing wheelies?
Oh yeah.
Tomahawks.
Fantastic. But my friend, I think it was called. No, it wasn't called a burner. It was a rally.
I know.
A rally bike, but it had a back pedal brake. Do you remember that? A pedal back
Yes.
brake.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'd kill for a pedal back brake. I was like, please let me get a bike that's got a pedal back brake.
I'd just like to show my age at this point. While you were doing that,
Penny
I got my
farthing?
first motorbike.
Penny farthing.
But later in
Citizen
life,
bag.
later in life, I met and became very good friends with a guy who was on the board of rally bikes.
Oh.
And you've never met a more cynical person in your life, because I said to him, what was all that chopper and chipper rubbish? And he said, mate, we made a fortune out of it.
It was the most expensive bike in 1977.
Yeah.
I bet they're worth a bit now, actually. Vintage.
Yeah.
Around between 700 and £1,000 for one.
What, for a chopper, a mint
For a
chopper.
chopper. Yeah.
Wow.
Not mine because it's been crashed.
Do you remember when the BMXs came out?
Oh,
yeah.
Skyway. Oh, I had a Falcon Pro
Mongoose.
seater. A Mongoose, yeah, with a
Right,
rail
a Mongoose.
wheels.
My brother had a mag burner.
Oh,
And
what?
it was gold.
Gold and black.
Yeah, with black mags on it.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
oh, oh. I was always the kid with the camera, with the 36 roll of film. And I have loads of pictures from when we were kids that are on Kodak slides, because they were cheaper to get slides made than get little 5x6s. You could or 8x4s or whatever, you could get the Kodak slides, send them off.
Well, when I started with film photography, I used to process my own slides. That was all I did was slides, but you could do them. You didn't need a darkroom, so I could process them at home.
Yeah, and they're just, and I look at them now and smell them. They're wonderful. Oh, they're wonderful.
Where have you been keeping them?
It's just they got that chemical and plastic. Because the Kodak ones were like in a blue frame, and you got a little box with an eyepiece on, and you could take all the slides out of the box when you got them, and you could put one slide in and hold it up to your living room light and look at the picture, and it was like, oh, and it had almost a 3D feel to it. Do you remember those carousels you used to have with the wrap? Oh, what's going on? Hey,
what an amateur!
What? Do you know where it was? That
wife.
Where's my screen gone? Sorry, guys. Gary Goff, if you're watching this,
was that Gary Goff?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say like Mally's such a name dropper, isn't he?
I've got something to say to Gary Goff. Gary Goff, I very much enjoyed your latest critique session, but for God's sake, get a pop filter.
I'll send you this.
It's like, honestly, it's like listening to a boombox. You know, like boom, boom.
Okay.
It's just, he keeps spitting all over his, he keeps saying, anytime there's a put or a but, it's, so get a pop filter, Gary. But other than that, well done. How patronising was that? Jesus.
A bit of critique there, Gary.
Yeah. Well, better than Gary's. No, I'm just joking. It was very good, Gary. It was very good. Carry on.
No. Let's have a really awkward silence now.
Yeah. Let's have a Mally tumbleweed moment.
Talking about the old cameras, I used to have a Minolta underwater camera. I bought it especially when we went on honeymoon in Barbados. And
Minolta?
And it was like this yellow camera. And you could use it obviously out and about, no problem. But then when you was underwater, you used to strap this thing to it that had kind of 4 squares actually above the camera, and you was meant to look through these 4 squares and then press the shutter button. And I got married. We've been married 30 years in a couple of months. And I remember when I got back from honeymoon, I went and got my photos developed, and it cost me £112. I always remember that, to get these photos developed. So what the equivalent of that is in today's money, God only knows. And all I got was like a tail of a fish, sometimes no fish whatsoever. This camera, I mean, I don't know if it was just me that was absolutely using it wrong, but £112 on absolutely nothing.
Oh, sounds like this week's bird photography for me.
Oh, suet, Gary. You need some suet balls.
No, I've got, we should probably talk about this offline, but I got an MC11, Darren.
All right, yeah.
Which converts, it's basically a converter, meaning you can use your Sigma lens that's built for a Canon on a Sony. So I've got the little Sony A6000, because my 5D is all well and good for landscape photography, but it's like, right, here's a bird. I'm going to take a picture of this bird now. Klum, klum, klum.
Frames per second is
the shot.
Man, yeah.
Whereas on the Sony, it's like, but it's 1.5 times the magnification, because it's a crop sensor, and I can't find the birds. I can't find them. They're like sort of 4 meters away from me, and I'm like, because it's so magnified, I'm like, and by the time I found one, it then takes a little while to focus, and I'm lucky.
So you've got the 150 to 600, have you?
Yeah. So essentially, I'm shooting.
What lens have you got below that?
70 to 200.
Oh right. Oh okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but mate, speaking of somebody who knows absolutely zip about photographing birds, that starling by the reflection pool was stunning.
Definitely.
But that was shot on my 70 to 200 on my Canon 5D.
There you go.
That was just bringing it right up to the hide.
Cropping in though.
Yeah, it's cropped in a bit. Yeah, but
it's
it was
lovely.
Lovely
Yeah.
picture. That.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I've started doing bird portraits now because I'm so zoomed in that I can't get the whole bird in, so I'm doing headshots. So yeah, it's
I was liking
interesting.
those bird memes that you were sending out today on.
Yeah, well, those bird memes are essentially the shots that I'm getting now because I'm shooting at 900 mils equivalent. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's the suet ball blew my mind. So I had to go and get some bits, and I come back and I put it's basically the washing line with 2 pegs and me fat dangler with some suet balls in. My setup is basically half an old sawn down log on top of a pile of old flags covered in some kind of branchy weavy type stuff, and behind it is a creeper. It's a bit like oh god, I don't know, it's some kind of weed of, it's taking over the fence. It's a creeper of some kind.
Okay.
So it's a nice colour to knock out, but the fat ball thing I've got hanging, I thought, put these suet balls in. They come in the extension, open both doors. Didn't expect anything. Oh, just nip for a drink, go and get a drink. All hell kicked off. Don's like, come and look at this, come and look. I runs back at kitchen. There were 6, like, starling, like, it was, Sheppies as I call them. 6 Sheppies. Fucking having this, get it off, and they're all brawling over this fat ball. I'm like, this isn't right. Run and got my camera, as you can see, it's still on. Run and got the 150-600, stood in the extension, and there's wings and the shit flying everywhere. And this lasted for about an hour, and then the lot, it was gone.
Yeah.
I'm not putting any out now, greedy bastards. They can wait.
I have to do that. I got mealworms. If I put mealworms out, I'll get 20 starlings in the garden, and they just go, and then they'll eat everything else as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad.
Is there a certain type of food which attracts certain types of bird then? Yeah.
Well, there is.
I know nothing about it.
If you want to get like goldfinch, for instance, you need to put Niger seed down. If you want to
The
get
really thin, small seeds, you mean?
Yeah. And like the tits quite like the fat balls. I don't know if you found that, Darren, but they quite like the fat balls.
Yeah.
And they'll eat a bit of the regular bird seed. But if you put mealworm down, it's just the starlings take over. They just
can't get in. They can't get a look in.
Yeah.
It's quite
So
bullyish.
are you guys gonna? I mean, obviously, like me, Mally, and Gary are kind of doing the bird photography at the moment. Are you going to carry on with this? Do you think when we come out of lockdown?
Yeah, for me, yeah, because I love feeding, but I love seeing. I've always enjoyed birds anyway as a kid, because of my dad and my mum. They always had birds in back garden, because he had a lovely back garden, and so they've always been there. And then going out and looking for, green for kingfishers and green woodpecker, and when you go off when you're young, like this is saying about social media. You go off at woods with your dad or whatever, and then next thing you're like, where are we? I don't know, I'm lost. And you're in the middle of Forest of Dean and you're watching, woodpecker. And so all that is kind of then changed. I'm not going to stop. I don't know about Gary. I think we should all carry on. It's lovely, isn't it?
Well, 4 or 5 years back, I used to do a lot of bird photography anyway. I used to sit in hides at, I've got shots of kingfishers, bitterns and bullfinches and all sorts. But when landscape photography kind of took over, and necessity, made it so, because that's what necessity does, I had to sell my lens, and so I never had the gear anymore. But I love a bit of bird photography. Always have done. So yeah.
All right. So here's a question for you guys then: if you couldn't do landscape photography, what would you do?
Oh, street and portrait for me.
Isn't it?
I'd do street and bird photography.
Jamie?
I don't know. To be fair, the reason I've not done macro or birds and the rest of it is because I just love the landscape, really. And I've got all my lenses and everything set up for landscape. I think I need to change those if I went somewhere else. So I don't know what I'd do really. I think the landscape's there. I'd just stick to
But
landscape.
when you say landscape, I mean, but you really enjoy your woodland though, don't you?
Yeah, okay. I'm including woodland in that.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking of landscape, I'm thinking more of Snowdonia, the Lake District.
Okay. No. The way I'm going at the moment, I actually prefer woodland than actually the big going out in the
big
wild
vistas.
landscape. Really, I'm really enjoying getting close to the subjects in the woodland and creating stuff in there. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of that. So yeah, no, I think woodland is something that probably in the short term after lockdown, I'm going to be doing a lot more of. Definitely. I'll still go out to the bigger places, but yeah, woodland to me, I love it. Really do. Really enjoy it.
What about you, Dave? Dave, what about you? Because obviously, we all know that you shoot pretty much Snowdonia exclusively. Would you do anything else if you didn't have access to the mountains?
Oh yeah. Glamour and boudoir.
Hence the background. What time is Trudy turning up anyway with her titilators?
She's to the side of the camera as we speak.
Oh.
What about you, James? What would you do?
What would I do if I didn't do landscape?
Yeah.
Probably, as you've said already, a bit of street photography. I used to do a bit of street photography. I think the street photography, you don't have to be so particular with the camera or lens. You can go around with the phone.
I thought that would have been the last genre you would have picked.
Really?
Yeah.
The thing about street photography, and I think I did it a bit different than say yourself, Gary. I used to look for juxtapositions. The comedy side involving the human element. I had put some character against the background of a poster and compared expressions. That's what I used to look for.
Yeah.
If I could come back on, because after my flippant answer, I do have a real one. There's a chap that's joined us on UTOGS who's from South Wales, a young lad called Kurt Roberts, and he specialises in derelicts and abandoned buildings.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't a sort of, go to a grotty part of Liverpool or something. He's travelled the world to go to almost sort of Chernobyl-esque places.
Yeah.
Really?
And he's got some amazing pictures. And he's a young guy, and he's sort of, he puts his stuff out on YouTube. He's done some vlogs, but he's not superb at sort of promoting what he does. And yet he should get a much wider audience because some of his stuff is really evocative. If you take a building, say an old, for example, in mid Wales, there's an old building that used to be an asylum and is derelict. And when you kind of have some understanding of the backstory of it and somebody takes some really moody pictures of it, it really paints a picture. And I think that if I didn't have mountains and coastline, that's probably what I would do is try and tell stories of places where there's a human story to be told.
The trouble with that is, I love that. There's a guy, his name escapes me now. He came and he did a talk at our photography club, and he's an award-winning photographer on that sort of derelict buildings and things. But it's very difficult to do that as a vlogger because I would imagine most of the time you're trespassing.
Oh yeah. He's Kurt is very careful about what he vlogs, and most of his photography, you're right, is literally sneaking in, get some pictures, sneak out, and hope not to get snagged on the barbed wire.
Yeah, we have an old fairground place at not Cheltenham. God, name's gone. It used
Camelot.
to be Camelot. That's the one.
Yeah.
Camelot, all the rides are still there, but they're covered in weeds and grassy.
Yeah. Mind you, I went there when it was open and they were covered in weeds.
Yeah, it does look spectacular.
But that's why it closed down, because it was always a bit ropey.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, kids flying off the...
It's the one time I've done one of them, them riding a bull things.
Yeah.
We were there with my daughter. She was about 10 years old. Oh, we'll take her down to Camelot. And it's like, I'll get on that bull. I can ride this thing.
What, the bucking bronco?
0.3 of a second, I was on my back.
They're brilliant fun. You should do them after a skin full of beer. They're even funnier.
I remember watching a vlog, actually. It'd be, if you search on YouTube, of Rill Sun Centre. Someone photographed Rill Sun Centre when it was derelict. And there were so many people with such fond memories. But then the pictures were so desolate and just life destroying. It was incredible, the contrast between the comments, the people's fond memories, and these disparate images of dismal land, if you like, just awful, woeful place that it had been
Quite
left
risky.
and decayed.
I think it's quite risky as well, doing a bit of dereliction.
Yeah.
Asbestos and lead.
So Darren, you asked the question. So we had a bit of a chat on our messenger chat, and I said, so you come to Holme Fen with me, you'll be in the bird hide and I'll be in the trees. So is that the case? Would you go in the bird hide, or would you be in the trees?
No, I think I'm definitely going to continue with the wildlife photography, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, because I just genuinely enjoy it. I really do. And the more I'm doing it, the more I am kind of falling in love with it. But because at the moment, I don't feel comfortable in traveling further afield, because I am very kind of concerned that the people that live in the honeypot locations are worried that there's going to be a big influx of us. And I am quite conscious of them people. So I'm going to be shooting a lot closer to home. And I don't really get inspired by the landscape here, so to speak. But I do enjoy woodland. So I must admit, if I went with you to Holme Fen, it really wouldn't bother me whether I shot in the woods if the light was right, or if the light wasn't quite right, I think I'd be happy to go in the hide. But it's quite nice to have a couple of now different options when I kind of go out.
Yeah. And as I said to you before, I think you've got a lot of people on your channel now that are a mixture of landscape photographers and bird photographers as well.
Yeah, possibly.
So, you've got that option now to mix it up, haven't you?
Yeah, possibly.
It'd be interesting though as well, because going to the hide at Holme Fen, when I was doing a bit of birding back in the day, I was not interested at all in the water birds. They just didn't do it for me at all. So when I went to a hide, except for kingfishers, but when I went to a hide, I was looking for different species of garden birds. So I wonder how you will feel if you say went to, there's several around. There's one at Summerlees where I was saying to you about, Jamie, that's just up the road from Hardwater Mill. There's loads of hides there, but they're all water birds, and so it's a whole different type of photography.
Habits, I reckon, as well. Yeah,
it is, and now miles away from you, and you wait ages to see one.
Yeah.
Whereas you bring birds into your garden, and all you got to do is put a bit of food out, and they'll turn up.
Exactly.
So it'd be interesting, Darren, to see, how you feel about those different types of birds.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm going out tomorrow. I mean, I'll be out Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to go out for sunrise now that we can stay out obviously longer, as long as we practice our social distance. I mean, the river for me is a 10-minute walk away, and then you walk along the river, and then you come to some lakes. So and there's plenty going on there. So I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow.
If you're in a bird hide, you got to wear one of those. You got to wrap one of those camo wraps around your lens to make you fit in.
I've got one.
He's got one.
He got one.
I've
got a free one.
Yeah. Well, actually, to be honest, I didn't buy it. It actually came because I bought my lens, my 100 to 400. I bought it second hand, and actually in the box was all the camo gear. Now, whether the guy that owned it before me bought the camo gear separately and then just stuck it in the box, or whether there was a deal on one day where you buy this lens and you get, but yeah, it all kind of came with it. Whether it does anything, I really don't know. I suppose it does, and most people wouldn't use it, but
well, it depends on it. You turn up with a fluorescent yellow bib on, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wonder though if the same thing's there, like when you wander out to take a landscape shot and you're doing it with like a small mirrorless. Someone else comes along and goes, oh no, you can't get a good shot of that. You can't be a very good photographer. Maybe if you haven't got the camo on your lens,
exactly.
Bird photographers might look at you and go, oh, amateur, can't take a good shot. This guy.
I'm not in the gang.
Yeah.
You call Dave?
Yeah. Sorry, I muted the mic while I was faffing about.
What are you faffing about? Oh, we didn't notice you'd gone.
Oh, very good.
Just going back to your wildlife, guys, what you're saying, I got hooked about photography-wise, I've always loved my birds, but there's one bird I thought I always wanted to photograph, and it's probably what everyone thinks actually, the kingfisher. And I spent a year figuring out where kingfishers lived and where they feed and local, and it became such a challenge. It became something that was just a wonderful escapade, almost comic at times, where you'd set up and I'd just move and think, I'll just get me sandwiches. And it'd be there right in front of you on like where I was shooting, it'd be on like old trees, growth that had died, and it'd be sat perched perfect with a fish, like, you know, having a right go. And then you'd be like, I mean, you get your camera and he'd feck off and he'd be like, this is unbelievable. And this went on for 6 months. I got 3 shots where I blurred out the background. I shot it at 5.6. I was like, oh, this is lovely. And then it just never happened again. I went back to the same place and they never came back.
How deflating is that though, Mally, for you?
It's so hard.
Does that deflate? Does it egg you on to continue? Because that I don't know.
I'd say it was a year solid. Well, Andy, you know Andy and Dave.
I know Dave Hurst.
Dave and they set up
shot at kingfisher.
Yeah, but the trials and tribulations of trying to get a shot of a kingfisher, especially one where it's feeding or trying to feed, it's ridiculously hard. But when you do get it, there's something a bit magic about that moment with a kingfisher. You really do feel that he's doing it for you. He's like, I'll let you have this one.
I must admit, for me, I would love to get a shot of an owl, a really nice owl. For me, I just think that is when you huge wingspans, lovely feathers, obviously really nice faces. Yeah, for me, if I could only perhaps pick one, it would be a nice owl shot.
Apparently, they come out at night, though, Darren.
No, a lot of them are out during the day, aren't they? Perhaps
not nocturnal, aren't they?
Dusk and dusk
and dawn. Yeah.
I was really lucky once. We got a nature reserve just up the road from where we live, and I was wandering around there I think it was in the morning, might have been the afternoon, I can't remember. And there's hardly anybody go down there. And I was wandering around this nature reserve. And there's a bench that's been built, I don't know, to in memory of somebody anyway. It's sitting there on the side looking into the lake. And I walked around the corner and I can't remember what lens I had on. I think it might have been my telephoto, I can't remember. But I had some lens on because I was ready to take a landscape shot. When I walked around this corner and sitting on this bench was a young short-haired owl, a junior short-haired owl. And you could tell because the tufts coming out of his ears. So he was a really young one. And then looked up in the tree and there was another one in the tree next to it. And I stood there and this thing was obviously very young. So he didn't really understand who I was and that I was potentially a threat to him and the rest of it. So he sat there for a while. So I gradually got the camera and I moved towards him as gently as I could. And I took a shot and I was trembling because this thing to me was like amazing. I'm literally between, I don't know, 10, 15 yards away from this thing and it's sitting on a bench. It's perfectly positioned and I'm trembling with a shot like this and I was trying to fire off the shots and I didn't have a clue what settings I was on. I literally just picked the camera up and shot and I took these shots and then he flew up into the tree. So then I got him in the tree and the moment was amazing to experience that, just me and this short-haired owl. Yeah. And then when I got back, I posted it on the local Facebook group in the village. And there was a guy who said, "Oh, you need to be really careful about that. Nobody else should see that. You need to take it down. Otherwise, you're going to have all these people from all around the world coming to try and see these." Because apparently these junior short-haired owls are quite rare. And a load of the twitchers out there didn't want everybody else to come and land on this fen. And then the whole place would be bombarded with photographers. So I took it down. I didn't really understand it. But then when I processed
I don't think you should have. Because there are loads of short-eared owls around here. There have been over the last few months. I've seen them all over the place. First thing is, I'm rubbish at wildlife photography. So I don't even try it. I just enjoy seeing them. And I see barn owls regularly, and they're quite common around here, all manner of owls. But it seems to me that if you are lucky enough to get an image of it, good for you.
Mm.
And if some manic twitcher has got a problem with that, well, frankly, that's his problem. Because why shouldn't you share the fact you've got a great image? Because loads of people will enjoy that because they don't get to see the owl for real like you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they were nesting in the area as well, which I suppose there was a reason of didn't want to disturb the nest. But I got it back and I looked at it and it wasn't sharp, because I was literally just trembling and I hadn't checked my set. But it was sharp enough. And I was really chuffed with it. And it was, God, this is about 5 years ago, this was. So it was in the early stages of me really getting into proper photography. And I was so chuffed with that image.
Yeah.
And everybody else was then saying, "Oh, you're so lucky to see that. That's such a rare thing to see it." And it's, in the domain where it was just perched on a bench on its own. So it wasn't in a tree, in effect, it was on a bench. So it was a little bit different to have this junior short ear owl. So I was really chuffed with that. So I'll share it with you, Darren, so you can have a look at it.
Do that.
Yeah, share it with us all, Jamie.
The lay-bys around here down by the dunes where the owls were hunting in January and February were packed, absolutely packed with assorted bird watchers and wildlife photographers. And they pull up their cars in the lay-by. They'd all stand there in a row, loads of tripods. Some had cameras, some just hadn't, the telescope things they have with an angle at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And me and Jan are walking around with a dog, and we're kind of walking in the dunes. And the owls are common tennerpenny. They're all over the shop. If you stand in a lay-by, you're probably not going to see one. Maybe they're all day. Oh, we didn't see one today. We just want to walk your dog, mate. Just go over that dune. There's 20 of them just the other side, thumbing their beaks at you.
I tell you what, though, if you think landscape photography is dedicated, wildlife photography is dedicated times 10.
Yeah.
The amount of time that I remember, again, talking about someone come to our camera club, can't remember his name. He was he got a picture of a lion that was in Buckingham Palace. The Queen had bought it from him, had it like blown up on the wall, and he was saying that, like, he'd go and take a shot, say for instance, of a deer's rutting, or just deers in general, and he'd sit there every morning for X number of days, and he'd get the shot, the sun, the backlit deer silhouetted, and he'd look at it and go, no, that one's leg's not quite right. That one's leg's not quite right. That one's crossing over. That one isn't quite in the right position. And it'd be days and days and days and days and days until he got the shot that he knew was good enough that someone would want to buy. It's such a dedicated hobby, that wildlife photography, incredibly, much more than landscape, I think.
Yeah. It's sorry, go on, Darren.
No, did anyone watch? I'm just trying to think of the guy's name, but it was Gary Goff interviewed him. Was it Gooch?
No, it's the guy from
Kenya.
Kenya. Yeah, I was shocked. Was it Gooch?
Gooch, yes.
And his photos were just absolutely incredible. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
He took a shot of a lioness, and then underneath the belly there was another lion. But what you didn't notice, if you then zoomed into the photo, in between the two back legs in the distance, there was another lion. I mean, that shot is just like one in a million. It really is. And I think, that's the kind of shots that, you do have to wait for, Gal, and you may never ever get. There's a bit like Rachel Talabart, with, some of the images that she gets. And we spoke about this before. There are just some shots that we will take, hopefully in our lifetime, that nobody will ever be able to take. I'm looking at a photo now, sitting up on my wall that I took in Senya of the aurora. And I just know that nobody has got that shot because no one was standing where I was standing when that aurora happened, and it will never happen again. So there are some unique shots that we must all be quite proud of, knowing that no one can actually replicate that ever.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of photography, though, isn't it? That's the whole argument about, do you go to the honeypot locations or don't you? Even if you go there, all right, that composition's been taken 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 times, but no one, unless they're there on the day right next to you, is going to take it in those conditions that you take it in.
Yeah.
You know, that, like the picture I've got up on my wall of the lone tree, that, you know, everyone's taken a picture of the lone tree. I can't imagine if anyone's been to Wales, they haven't visited there, you know, landscape photographer to take that picture. Yeah, but okay.
I haven't.
I haven't.
Other than everyone here, other than everyone here, but I mean, so many people are taking that shot, but no one's got it in the conditions I've got it in because I was the only one there. So,
but do you think? I mean, for me, when I really first started getting into landscape photography, I had no problems with photographing like images that was in, say, a guidebook or that I'd seen online, because I think as a beginner, I think it's really helpful. Like I took a photo of the jetty near Ashness Bridge, which is Derwent Water, and I looked at that image, and I was almost thinking, well, how did they get that shot? And then I realized, oh, that tripod was actually a little bit lower than that I had mine set up. And so I think actually in the early days, by copying other people's images, you can learn quite a lot about composition. I'm not saying then take it through for the next 20 years, but in the early days, I think it's really beneficial to actually say copy other people's work, but by standing where they've stood, looking, how did they do that? Oh, just a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. That's why I like that.
I'd argue against that. I'd argue against
Would
it.
you?
It's the reason why I don't. Yeah, it's the reason why I don't go to these honeypot locations and take the same photos which other people are taking. To me, that composition has already been done for you. It takes the skill and the enjoyment out of finding something else. That's half the battle.
Yeah, no, I agree with
especially
what
when
you're
you're
saying.
learning photography. All you're doing is copying someone else's. What exactly are you learning by doing that?
I'll tell you what, this is what I felt that I was learning. So from say, I would look at a photo and I would think, what do I like about that photo? And then, like say, I would go, I'm just using the Jessie as an example. I would stand there, I would set up and I would take my photo. And my photo perhaps wouldn't look as good. Then I think, well, why doesn't mine look as good? Oh, I realised because they've got to a lower elevation. They've come slightly, it's coming in from the right, all these little things. And I then kind of learn about composition from actually replicating other people's work in the beginning. Now, as I say, I'm not going to say now I'm going to go on with this and copy everybody's photos, but definitely the first 6 months, I learned a lot about composition.
I can see your point. I suppose the importance of just being able to tweak that composition to get it exactly like it, how you like it. Yeah.
Yeah, because we all know that, you know, a foot either way, up or down, can sometimes make or break a photo. Yeah. So that's just me anyway. I mean, that's what I had no problem with doing that in the early days, and it taught me some valuable lessons.
I think there's probably something to be said about motivation as well, isn't there? Certainly for a beginner, if you go into a place that you know there's an obvious composition there, you know it's been done loads of times, so you know it's there. You take the shot, you bring it back, and you think, "Well, I'm really happy with that. That's a nice shot." It then motivates you to want to go out and improve and do more. So you know maybe there's an argument there that rather than spend all the time just getting shots that you're really not that happy with, go to somewhere that you know you're going to get a composition and
you're just
bag
not experimenting. You're not experimenting by doing that. I understand that you come away with the same shot. Do you really get that value, that enjoyment when you get home? You think, yeah, I've got this shot. It's the same as everyone else. You really.
Well, I don't know.
For me, does it really motivate me to do anything?
Is it back to the collecting of soccer stickers? And this brings me round to the question I had for everyone so I could shut up this week. Was I've noticed that, and this relates to what you're saying, Darren, I've noticed that there's some great photographers out there, but it's very dependent on location. Do you think as photographers, we need to visit more locations to be a better photographer or maybe a more commercial photographer? Do we actually need to go further than 100 miles from your house to become a landscape photographer of the highest quality? For me, that question, I struggle with it because I can't get to, say, Iceland. I can't get to certain places on the Oregon coast or So do you, to be the best photographer though in landscape photography,
I wouldn't say they're best, but there's a reason why these honeypot locations are there, and that's because they produce the best photographs, don't they? Because they've got the best landscapes, and it's good to have a good variety from a commercial point of view, a good variety of images of the best world-known locations in your portfolio. But the question, does it produce the best photographer?
Could you be?
No, it doesn't. The better photographer would be someone who ideally goes to those locations, but again, comes back to something different. Completely different.
I think, I've mentioned this before, and the answer to your question, I think, Mally, is no, you don't. I think that the trick is you need to be inspired by the place that you're shooting. So if you're lucky enough to live in that place that you absolutely love, and I know I refer back to Dave, but you know, the place that Dave lives in, that's why he doesn't travel. I'm speaking on his behalf here because he's got a mouthful of nuts, but Dave doesn't travel because he doesn't need to. He feels inspired by every time he pretty much goes out of his front door. So I think if you no matter what it is, I mean, it could be the Fens. If someone is inspired by the Fens, then just shoot local, because I think you're going to get your best photographs if you're in love with your own surroundings.
Yeah, I'm a believer of that. I'm a believer of a subject and study to get the most out of. I like to think that you don't have to travel all the way around the world and get a portfolio of all these magnificent places and shots. I quite like the more idea of an artistic interpretation of, say, a secular lawn, a location that you've studied and found images that inspire and excite people. Because if you see the Taj Mahal, do you not think that we just flick past this glorious? It's become almost like, oh yeah, Taj Mahal. What? It's unbelievable to stand in that place and look at that building. But because of the way social media is, this is what I'm aiming at with landscape photography, that we have people that go out and they get these wonderful locations, portfolio, commercial images, but people just thumb past some of the most amazing locations because they are seeing it twice.
We are very spoilt now because social media. I mean, social media is fantastic, you know, and sharing all our images online, but we've almost become very blasé to these fantastic shots now because we've seen a million wonderful sunsets or sunrises, or you know, there's got to be a really good shot now for you to, as you say, as you're thumbing through, to go, whoa, that is something different. That is beautiful. That, which is good, and it's also a shame at the same time.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say I do agree with Darren in terms of inspiration, though. I think you're right, mate. I think if you look at, you know, for my photography around the Fens, I wouldn't want to spend all of my life every single day around the Fens. You need to be out and about. When I went to Snowdonia last year, met Dave, been at the Peak District. You know, when you go over there and experience some of the locations, you actually, all of a sudden, you can be inspired. You can't help but being inspired in some of those places. They're just magnificent to look at, and it just gives your photography a bit of a lift, really. And you know, when you're then motivated to do that, you go back to the Fens, and you know, you're back in your zone again. But you got to mix it up, really. You really got to mix it up.
I think as well, when Mally was saying about, does it make you a better photographer? Yeah. I think that it's probably a controversial theory, but I think that you get to a certain level, all photographers get to a certain level, and then it's about being in the right place in the right conditions. And I think it's more about perseverance and getting out there to take the photos than it is about your technical ability to take the photos. So I think some of the better photographs around are not necessarily from the, if you like, the best photographers. They're from the photographers who go out the most to experience the right conditions to get that shot.
Yeah, put the time and effort in.
Yeah, hard work and dedication. That's what brings me back to that secular location, like visiting, you know, the tree that I fancy.
Oh, the tree.
Tell us about your tree, Mally.
Yeah, sorry, I can't get her out of my mind.
Does Dawn know about this tree, Mally?
Shh.
Have you confessed? Or
She's in the other
is she
room.
here? Sorry.
She's in the living room.
I didn't
She
know
doesn't
this.
know.
She doesn't know.
She
doesn't know about the tree.
No, she doesn't know about the tree. I've even shared a few other trees today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mate, it's terrible.
Just to put people off of the where the actual tree is, just off
Well,
the text, they can't find it.
Yeah.
The one you saw, Jamie, you said, "Oh, that tree, that's the sister tree." I'm hoping, get twos up.
Keep it in
So
the
you're
family.
after the tree and her sister. That's what you're saying.
How do you know it's the sister tree, not the brother tree?
They're definitely female. They're
It
definitely.
sounds like
female.
a night out in St Helens, doesn't it? About 20 years ago, this.
What? How can you tell if it's the
Ugly
sister, not the brother?
Coming out to Loey's nightclub. Only people in St Helens will get this. Coming out to Loey's nightclub with a lass, and she's got 4 eyes. And I don't mean because she's wearing glasses.
Sounds like a good night out to me. Tumbleweed again.
Right, so I've got a question then. Has anything pissed anybody off this week, Gary?
Me, I did get quite pissed off about. We had a tweet, didn't we, James?
Oh, yes, we did.
It's
Oh, we
too
got
easy.
sucked in. Oh, we got sucked into that one, didn't we?
Yeah,
Too
we had-
easy.
Go.
Yeah, go on, Gal. You had a tweet. Go
we had
on.
a tweet
Yeah, lad.
from.
Do we read out our replies?
He's deleted his original tweet,
I bet he has.
and basically he said, I can't even remember the guy. I'm not even going to bother mentioning.
I
him
can,
'cause
but I won't. No.
Yeah. He said, so what gives you the
Middle-aged gentleman.
yeah, 6 middle-aged gentlemen the right to discuss and offer advice on photography? Not that I've watched it. So firstly, you're not watching it, which is maybe you should watch it and then you might find out the reason why we're offering advice to beginners. Secondly, shut your mouth. That's it.
Sorry,
Well done.
so what was the tweet?
The tweet was from this guy who basically I think it was Jamie posted a tweet saying that this week's podcast is out and we're talking about landscape photography, and he then said, what is it about, how many awards have you 6 middle-aged photographers done that give you the right to offer advice to anybody? Not that I've watched it. Lazy question, I think he said.
Not that his preference of learning photography is via video. That's what he said.
It's basically just another excuse. Like I was talking the other week about, we should never forget as YouTubers that there are loads and loads of very good photographers who don't go on YouTube. Equally, non-photographers, non-YouTubing photographers shouldn't forget that there are some very good photographers who use YouTube.
Correct.
And that's the problem. I think there's a real bias, especially in areas of Twitter, where people think that if you're a YouTuber, then that can't make you a photographer as well. You can't possibly do both. Not possible. If they can't be a good photographer taking all that time concentrating on video.
And do you know what? This ties in quite nicely almost to something that we were talking about, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think Dave raised the question about, do we accept, people that we don't know as friend requests on Facebook? And the reason that, I don't accept a lot of people on Facebook is because I just generally don't know them. I have to kind of build up a relationship with someone before I add them as a friend. Twitter's totally different, because I think when you get to our age, you might know someone kind of via, commenting on the channel. So you think, oh, well, okay, I'll add them as a friend. But then you realise they're really political. And I don't really want that on my Facebook with my daughter or my sons and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very careful who I actually accept as a friend. But it's almost like, because, landscape photographers, not everyone, but it's normally kind of a middle age hobby, and by your time you've reached your 40s, 50s, 60s, you are quite opinionated on certain things. And I think that's a bit like with photography. When you say it's very tribal, it's very black, it's very white. I just think it's the kind of age group that we're all in, unfortunately.
Here's my question. When are you all planning to get out? Because obviously now essentially for vlogging, lockdown is lifted. So what are your plans? You know, personally, I'll talk about myself really quickly because, you know, I don't like doing that normally, but but I will do. I'm not going anywhere for the next 6 weeks minimum, and I'm not going to lie, it's going to be really hard for me to watch everyone else going out. But you know, that's going to be. I reckon we're going to start getting vlogs on location from this weekend. Where are you guys going?
Sorry, before we actually start, can I just say, I know you've said it's going to be hard, but how hard is that going to be for you, considering you do obviously, like we all do, enjoy getting out?
Well, you can imagine. I mean, it's hard now. It's hard now not getting out when no one else is getting out. But it's going to be really hard watching my contemporaries going out and vlogging. It's also, you know, this sounds a bit selfish, you know, perhaps, but it's also going to be hard watching everyone else's views go up because they're going to going back out to places and people are going to want to watch. I've been hit really hard with the fact that I can't get out, as we all have. Just purely from a point of view of going out, I hate not being able to go out. You know, I hate this virus. I hate the effect it's having on my mental health. I've been really down this week, and I'm not looking forward to it. But equally, I'm really happy for everyone who can go out, and I mean that genuinely. You can talk now.
No, I do feel. I've always said that, you know, during this lockdown period, you know, there's been a lot of us that have been extremely fortunate to perhaps live where we live, you know, in a house with a garden, and you know, we can the hour's exercise for me, it's a beautiful walk that I can have within an hour. But I always felt sorry for people that were kind of cooped up in flats where they just can't go anywhere, wake up, and then they're just killing time until they go back to bed again. So but yeah, I do feel for you, mate. I really do. I mean, I'm going out tomorrow, but as I said earlier, I'm just going to stay local. You know, I'm literally just walking down the river, but it's a nice river.
What's shocked me over the last 8 weeks is what time bloody sunrise is now.
Well, it's 5 o'clock now, isn't it? Where's that create? Last time we were out, about 6:30, wasn't it? 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I looked about going out of the weekend. I thought, well, what time do I need to be up for sunrise? Bloody hell, I need to be up at 4 to be out for 5 for sunrise.
Yeah.
So
tomorrow I'm out. There's no stopping me. I'm out. I contemplate going to the Lake District. I'm not going to go there, but it's not for the reasons where I think I'm going to get contracted with the virus, because at the end of the day, I think it's a lot safer environment now, and a lot more safe than what it was 2 months ago. The R rate's dropped. We can go to Lake District. The problem I've got, and it's probably fueled up by negative comments on social media, is the haters out there who, you know, it's probably going to be hard work. Probably a lot of places going to be shut as well. So I'm not going to go there tomorrow. I'm going to leave it until next weekend. Tomorrow I'm planning on going for a fell walk in the Yorkshire Dales.
Very nice.
To it.
I mean, theoretically, you guys could now do a collab with another person as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop you doing that.
That silence says it all for me. Silence says it all. Is that we've come to a point, I feel we've come to a junction where the seriousness of the situation across the country for different people, for all walks of life, that this is multiple, just different people, and it's so hard for people with 5 kids in a 1-bed sit in middle of London, and they're hardworking, they get up every day, and now they're being told, yeah, you can go back to work and cram on a train or whatever. And I'm not going to make this political.
Well, they're not advising that, are they?
They're not advising it, but when you've got no money and you've got 5 kids, now then you get people who say, oh, well, you shouldn't have had 5 kids and all this. You don't know that individual. This is the polarisation I talked about. We don't know individual cases. We don't know people. Unless we're stood in front of that person, we know the history, the life, and the sufferance, or what they've given in their lives and what they've done. Like, you've got Gary, you've got Darren, you've got yourselves, you've got your own lives, you've got your own walk of life. You know, I love a bit of Martin Knopfler, and I think that song for me, and Martin Knopfler himself, his background, where he come from, and what he did, and what he become. And at the end of the day, I think we all need to become one. Stop blaming each other, stop looking at each other. Let's all turn the eyes to Sauron. Let's all look at London. Let's all look at 10 Downing. Let's all question everything we're being put in, the situation.
Well, I'm sorry, but I got a crap A-level result because of Mark Knopfler.
Oh, well,
why?
Good lad.
Well, because he was playing the Stafford Bingley Hall the night before my chemistry A-level, so I went to see him, got back to Mid Wales at 4 o'clock in the morning, sat down and flunked an exam. But you're right, Mally.
I love
right.
Martin Knopfler, and I love what he is as a person and what he's achieved as a magician.
That aside,
magician. Some flowers.
Coming back to where we
Are you going to go out to vlog with him here, or I've lost this?
I've had a sort of bittersweet relationship with lockdown because, as you know, we're still locked down at the moment. So all of this is moot as far as I'm concerned. That said, because of where I am, I can reach a couple of internationally renowned honeypot locations on my bike, and I have. And selfish as it may seem, I wouldn't dream of vlogging from them. But the time that I've spent there with a camera and nobody else has been kind of surreal and otherworldly. You go somewhere that is always heaving with trippers, and you've got it to yourself for hour after hour after hour. And to the extent that I've literally just sat on a rock, not got my camera out the bag and thought, God, what is going on with the world?
Yeah.
So on one hand, I'm thinking, well, actually, if the Welsh head bozo says stay locked down for another few weeks, I'll be like, oh, all right, then, yeah, I can live with that. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm completely unique. And there are, you know, in my principality, there's 2,999,000, etc., people who don't think that way, who are desperate to be able to go out. And so I hope that before long, there'll be lots of other people in these spots saying, yeah, it was tough, but we're back here now.
Yeah.
And I one thing that I am happy about that is unlikely to go away anytime soon is the social distancing aspect, because I'm not really one for hugs.
No.
I find it interesting personally, not getting political, but I find it interesting that on the way up, when there were 350 deaths a day, we were all in lockdown, and that's the thing to do. There's still 350 deaths a day plus going on. People are still dying. That's one thing that I need to say, that for all of my, it's so sad that I can't go out, I'm still alive, and you've got to be thankful for that, because loads and loads of families, loads of people have died, loads of families have been deprived of their loved ones. And I think that this whole, like, yes, we can all go out and vlog. Yes, we can go and play tennis, apparently. Yes, we can go and meet a loved one in a park, and we can go and have a picnic. But don't think this has gone away. Don't think this virus has gone away. And don't think that don't think anything other than the only reason that we're out now doing these activities for leisure is anything other than the fact that they've got to give us that because they're trying to get us to go back to work. Yeah. That's the only reason that we're all allowed out now for these leisure activities, is because they need to get the economy back going. It doesn't mean it's safer. Yeah. It doesn't mean that there aren't still going to be lots of people dying from this. So, it's...
I think it's fair to say, though, that people's approach to being out and about will be different to how it was prior to the formal lockdown. I can recall the final weekend, you'll have seen the pictures where it was completely bonkers in Snowdonia. It was the busiest day in Snowdonia in living memory, and it wasn't a bank holiday. And it was really weird because we were allegedly at that point supposed to be using our own common sense to stay socially distanced. And it's fair to say that I think obviously there will always be the minority of people who really aren't that bright, but most people approach the way they are when they're out and about completely differently to the way they did 7 or 8 weeks ago. And I think that will help. And you know, so James is saying, look, I'm going to go out, but I'm going to go somewhere sensible. Come the day I'm allowed out, I won't be going to Snowdonia. Absolutely not.
This
It'll
was
be
the point
bonkers,
I was
isn't it?
making, David, that we're all individual, we're all different, and I feel there's a mental pressure on us all, on everyone across the land. I feel that we're all so different, and it's so easy to put people in little decompartmental boxes and put portion blame on you're a furlough, you're a this, you're a that, you're a the other. And I find that I think it's a time where we need to come together and put away our differences and realise that people do need to go out. Some people can't go out. Some people are going out. Some people are working. Some people are stuck in flats. Some people have got mansions. You know, there's a guy with 6 million and he's in a house in Hampshire and he's crying every night because he's got no one and no one's ringing him. And then you've got a guy who's sat with his wife and he's going through mental torture because, you know, he's having an affair with the cleaner who he can see once a day now. You know, the world is so diverse. We are so diverse as people.
And everyone's got their different values in life. A millionaire sat in his mansion.
Yeah.
One little thing which might seem so controversial to another, that's a big part of his life, though.
Exactly.
It's all proportionate. It's all
Yes.
proportionate.
Yes.
I do think as well that, you know, we Gary's right. You know, we're still in this, and nothing is going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
But if you go back possibly 8 weeks ago and you saw someone in a supermarket wearing a face mask, you'd think, oh, crikey, that's a bit, you know, perhaps a little bit extreme, or that's an unusual sight to see. They would stand out. Now, no one bats an eyelid anymore if you see someone in a face mask or walking around Tesco's with a pair of gloves on. So I think that we are, I'm not saying we're kind of coming out of this. I mean, because there could well be a second wave, but I do think now it might have just taken longer for some people just for the penny to drop how serious this is. But I do think now we're kind of being allowed to go out again. I think people are going to respect social distancing a lot more. They are going to be more aware of this. So I'm really hoping that we don't get that second spike that everybody's anticipating.
Thanks ever so much for watching and listening, of course, on the podcast, if that's what you're doing. Hopefully we'll be here again next week for another round of this nonsense, and look forward to seeing and listening to you all next week. So thanks for watching, listening, and we'll see you then. Cheers, guys.
Stay safe.
Yeah. Bye.